All right.
Hello, everybody. I am Liz Cross. I am a psychic medium and remote viewer and a CTT practitioner. And today we have the wonderful Alonso. Yay!
Hey, everyone.
So happy you're here. And we've been trying to get this together for a few weeks, but we just haven't managed to get it in our schedules. But here we are.
It's a pleasure. I'm excited.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about what you do, please.
Yeah, so I've been in the crypto space for a good couple of years. I joined in 2017, just like pretty much I think that like this last generation, we all joined at 2017 at the peak when it was like super like crazy and everybody was making millions of dollars. And I wrote it all the way back down because again, I didn't know nothing. I put money in, I saw the kid going up and kid going up, and I'm like, oh man, this is so easy. Why isn't everybody doing this? Right. Mm-hmm. And then the bull market kicked in. And like most people, I was jumping from room to room and room into room. And I ended up meeting two really cool people. And one of them ended up creating this really cool counting system. So he uses numerology to do his charts. And between me, him, we kind of created a whole new system. So now I do TA using numerology. And a lot of people mix it up with that gematria or something, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. Have you heard about that?
It's funny because I did a reading on gematria today. I probed gematria direct. Now, that was an interesting reading today because when you're aligning numbers to letters like the Hebrew alphabet, okay, that is the basic level of mathematical equation. And as we explored further, it was like mathematical equations in the universe, which are the secret codes, are so complex and so many, and you have to break through many different layers of them to understand fully what's going on. And no human would ever be able to do that because by doing that, that brings you right next to the power of source, and nobody's allowed to have that power. Now, isn't that interesting? It's an excellent video.
So, and we do something very similar. A lot of people who always ask us like, oh, well, what is it that you do? And it's really hard to explain because the best way I could tell them is like, you have to think of Nicholas Tesla, the 369. Like we use numbers. We don't use like regular TA, the Elliott wave and like all these things like that. We use just numbers. And believe it or not, we have one of the highest success rate when it comes to predicting a lot of things. Like, when there's people yelling and screaming like, oh, it's going to go up. And we'll be over here saying like, no, it's going to drop, and it will drop. We have, and it's interesting. And, and I have all the screenshots, all the videos of all the like, predictions we've made. We've followed Bitcoin for 60 days perfectly on which way it's going to go. I've had people come into my Discord all the time and like make these bold claims. Oh, it's going to go do this. It's going to go do that. And I'll tell them like, no, like it's supposed to drop. When we were at Bitcoin was like at what, $60,000 and everybody was screaming $100. I was like, no, like watch, we have to drop back down to like 52. And if we drop to 47, like we're in a bear market. So when we were at that point, at the peak, I was starting to tell people, hey, look, I think we're about to go into a bear market. Once we first dropped to 47, I was telling everybody, hey, you know what? We're in a bear market, like take your profit. And the biggest problem was there was a lot of people that would find my room when it was already too late. I'd tell them this, I'd tell them like, hey, don't buy, take your profit now. Okay, now you have to wait. If you didn't take your profits, you got to wait. And, oh, take your profits now. And this is all based off numerology. And, Tin, which is the creator, and this count system is named Tindicator. And that's the name of my Discord. He just found a pattern with numbers on it. And it just, he just put it together. And then and then with me and another guy named Metavic, because there's three of us who know the system. So there's only 3 people that know this count system. We started figuring out other things. We knew like when certain numbers were together, this had to happen. So I can predict, when we have to reverse back up or we have to come back up. And what's interesting about this indicator system is you can also apply it to other things like the Fibonacci tool. I don't know if you're familiar with that because that's kind of more of like the TA stuff, but it's cool because you can adapt this to other things, all using numbers, which is actually it's actually really, really cool and difficult to understand in the beginning. And it's kind of like you mentioned, like it's not so easy, and it took me like 2 years to perfect it, and another year for us to kind of create what it is now. And it's interesting because we've made some very bold calls everywhere. I've gone against almost everybody's calls saying like, no, it's going to drop back down. The cool thing about the system is once we have a target, we stick to it. If you follow a lot of like Instagram influencers or like on TikTok or YouTube or even some of the psychics, you'll see that hey, when the market is bullish, they'll be giving you bullish targets, and when the market is bearish, they'll be giving you bearish markets. And with the count system, it's like, hey, this is our target and we have to stick to it. Like, it doesn't matter if the rest of the world is saying, hey, we're going to take off. I've been so bearish for such a long time. It's so funny. And now that I'm bullish, the rest of the market is like, oh yeah, we're gonna drop to like 10,000 Bitcoin and everything. But that's
So
what we
what?
use. We use
Sorry, let
numerology to
me
do our
stop
target.
you.
Yeah.
Sorry. So what do you think, by your indications, is going to happen for the month of November?
Oh, do you want me to show you?
Well, you can show me, or you can just tell me.
I prefer to show you just because I'm a visual person, and I feel like a lot of
Okay, yeah.
people, if anybody ends up watching the video, they'll see a little better. Can I show my screen?
You should be able to.
All right, cool. Let's see. All right, let me know if you can see my screen right now.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So this is what we see happening with Bitcoin. So since back here, since we did this, I discovered there's like a pattern that we have to follow through, and we know for our count system, we have to come back up to 21. So we knew that once we did this little hump here, we locked in this pattern. So we knew we were going to come back up. Right now, we're in this little section here. So we're just waiting for it to go sideways, and we're going to slowly go up to around, like the 19th of November. It's where we can see kind of a peak for Bitcoin, and it should be around 24,000, and then it's slowly going to drop back down. And this kind of matches what a lot of people are saying, how, at the end of the year, a lot of traders take their profit. So around like mid-November, if your coins are really like high up there, you might want to think about taking your profits because it's going to drop back down. Nothing like crazy, but it'll drop back down to our 19K target.
So, okay, that's interesting, because what I'm actually getting is that it's going to drop down very low come November, December. We may actually even see price points of 16 or below. And that's what I'm getting.
Hey everyone, so just real quick, I wanted to just add a little bit to this video. So much has happened since we did the video. It's a couple of days late. And obviously, with all the FTX drama has happened, the market completely crashed. So just wanted to fill in those little gaps. In here, we mentioned how we still had a head, we're supposed to have a nice little pump and head back up. We actually did. When you look at the pattern here, we had a really nice green day, and then it slowed down a little bit. Our indicator target of 21,800, we missed it by $400. We went up to 21,400. So we missed. So we were off by a little bit. Our pattern on the other half, the pattern did fail. We didn't go all the way back up as we thought. We knew we were going to come back down. We knew we were going to come back down to these targets here, which in the video I have it as 19 and 17K. You can see my little cat back here. We knew we had to come back and knock those out. We just didn't know it's going to happen this fast, right? And obviously nobody saw the FTX thing happening. But shout out to Liz, because in the video, she does say, hey, I see it just going down and going down to 16K. So good job, Liz. You nailed that really good, like perfectly. I think we dropped down to our bottom with 15,800. So, I mean, how close can you get to the 16? But just wanted to fill in that gap, just because when you look at the videos, it's going to say like, oh, we're going to continue to go up, which again, we do. We have a nice little pump, the alta doing great. Then we have a little candle. And after that, that FTX drama happens, completely dumps us down. So we missed our indicator target by $400, so not too big, not too like, not too big of a difference in a sense. Our pattern did fail, which does suck because again, we wanted for it to push up a little bit more. And I know I had some members that did want to take some profit if we made that push. And then we got side blinded by this big old crash with thanks to FTX. But again, just wanted to fill in that little gap and give shout outs to Liz because Liz did nail that. All right, let's go back to the show.
How do you use numerology to come up with this trading pattern?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. We actually can't give it away right now.
No, but I'm saying like, just give me an example. So where do you get the numbers from, first of all?
All right, so how
To
can
plug in your numerology information, like, do you use the price of Bitcoin? Do you use the total market cap? Like, what are you doing?
So I'll give you this much. We count the candles.
Oh, so you're counting candles. Okay.
So here would be an example, and this is not the way we do it, but it's just an example for for it to make sense. So let's say I counted, these little candles right here. Let me just get this, change the color. So I would count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since we ended in a 6, it represents something.
All right. Okay. So you're counting upward candles and downward candles.
Yeah. So we're counting every single candle, and we realize that when certain numbers, equal a certain thing, it lets us know, hey, we have to return back to this number. So this would be an example right here. This little yellow line here represents that we have to come back down here because I counted all these candles. And this red candle lands on a certain price that it equals to. And whenever it equals this number, we have to come back to it. So, yeah. So when I grab, so there's two parts to my this system. One is the indicator, which is the actual price targets. And then I'm really good with pattern recognition, like recognizing a lot of patterns. And that's how a lot of my little patterns play out. And when I put them together, they play out perfect. Like this will go up and come right back down to this 19.
Okay.
So like when you put two things like that together, it just plays out nicely. So I use two different methods. One with, the patterns, and two, I know where eventually it's going to come back to because of like the targets. But that's what I do. I count every single candle and they give me certain numbers, and whatever they equal to represents something else. You can say it that way.
That's interesting. Right? Okay.
Yeah. It's nowhere near the same. And every time, like, new people come to my Discord and they're TA and they're like, wait, so why do you say that? Or it doesn't make like sense to them because they're so used to like, resistance supports or doing a triangle. I do a little bit of like normal TA, but for the most part, I stick to just this system. It's sometimes it's like scary accurate, like the accuracy on it is just ridiculous sometimes. And I don't mean like to brag. When I first like started doing it, it was kind of scary because it's like, what? There's no way. It made me realize, what? Numerology and Tesla was completely right. Like it's just mind-boggling how this stuff plays out.
So do you use astronomy in your system at all?
No. So but it's something we want to be open to.
Or astrology, sorry. Astronomy and astrology.
Yeah, no, especially astrology, because the one thing we really lack is timing. So there's times where we can get pretty close, and there's times where like all the stars align together and I can actually predict what date and what time. And I've made a few posts where I'm like, look, on this date we're gonna hit this price, but it's really rare everything lines up. So we've thought about looking to astrology to help for timing. But it's tricky because then you have to learn all of the astrology. And to me, it's funny because if I were to show you how the count system really looks like, because when you look at my chart here, you see it pretty like plain, right? Just some lines and patterns. But
Mhm.
if I really showed you what was behind it, like you would be like 2, 3, 14, 16, 12, 8, like you see a bunch of numbers everywhere. And it would look confusing to a lot of people. And that's how I feel when I look at astrology, like with all the little like Jupiter signs and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man, like I have to learn this all over again.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
this is great. Thank you. Now, I believe you have some questions for me to answer,
Yes.
and you don't mind having your reading live on air.
Oh no,
Well, it's recorded, but
yeah, no, I think it's interesting. This is the first time I've actually had like a reading with any psychic. I grew up,
oh,
I grew up Catholic, so like all this was like dark magic.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. Of course.
Mhm.
Which it's not, but okay. So what would you like to know?
So, all right, let me move this over because I wrote the questions over here.
Oh, you're so organized. Highly.
Well, because I wouldn't say organized. I'm all over the place sometimes. It's gonna make my screen dark real quick. All right, so where's my all right, cool. So I had two questions that doesn't have to do with like crypto. So I know there's a few of my members that are gonna watch this and they're like, oh, you didn't ask crypto questions. But outside of crypto, there's two things that I'm really interested in. One is frequency healing,
Mhm.
especially now because like I'm watching these numbers literally predict the way the market is. Like we've gone, like I said, 60 days where we knew exactly where Bitcoin was going. Right now we have about what 30 days of how we know which way Bitcoin has been going. We've been just kicking back. My group does not FOMO into anything. So, the numerology really works. So, and I've always been a person who likes to help people. So I was wondering if you would be able to see me get into either frequency healing, or another thing I always wanted to do was get into vertical farming. Have you heard of that?
Farming. No, explain
Mhm.
that.
So instead of like, how a regular farm prints the crops and it takes up all the space, all the land, because
Mm.
you plant your crops, sideways. This way you build upward. So they have like these little towers and you grow your plants upward. Um, so like it does like less water. It's just easier, to maintain and everything like that. So two different paths that I would like to take that can kind of help the people in a sense. So I'm curious if you can see me doing that down the road, either one or none of them.
Wow. Okay. Well, these
I know
are
I gave
great
you a bunch of
questions.
info, huh?
So I actually have a lady standing here for you. I don't feel like this is a mother. I feel like this may be a grandmother or great grandmother.
Mhm.
Is your great grandmother or your grandmother in spirit on are you mom's or dad's side?
Oh, interesting. You know what? On my dad's side, I didn't really know her well. I think I met her once because she was in Mexico and I'm actually from Mexico, born in Mexico. I'm a citizen now, but I came over here very little and I went out there and I only seen her once, which is
That's
interesting.
okay.
Uh,
She's here. So
mhm.
she's going to answer the question. So the
Oh, cool.
first question you asked, which is what is she says, tell him hello, I love you. The first question she asked, sorry, that you asked is about the frequency healing.
Yeah.
Frequency
Like if she
healing.
sees me doing anything with frequency healing down the road, like after cryptos or during cryptos.
No,
No?
no, that's not for you. No.
No.
What do you know about frequency healing?
Um, so I like the idea of like there's certain frequencies that help vibrate the body in a sense, and it can actually cause some of the cells to function better. Like they've said,
Yeah,
have you ever heard of where they say beekeepers are one of like the most healthiest people? And it's because they're always next to the bees and they vibrate at a certain frequency. They know when
I have never heard that.
yeah,
Oh, wow, that's
yeah, because of the
interesting.
bees. Um, have you ever heard of the one where like they say, your cat knows when you're sad and he'll come to you and he'll purr, or when you're sick and they'll come and they'll purr, and that vibrates at a certain frequency. So like they try to heal you a little bit. And that's why like the ancient Egypts used to always keep them around. Now, another thing too is one of our guys. So remember, when it comes to knowing the syndicator system, there's three of us. The other guy goes by the name of Metabit. He's actually almost built a frequency machine. So I like the idea with that. And I always wanted to work with him to see if we can progress, kind of progress that and be able to help people down the road, right? Like let's say if some people have, some sort of illness or maybe some, critical illness, they could always come to our place and maybe we can help them, bounce back.
So is it like a scalar machine?
No, I wouldn't say it's a scalar. It would be like if you would come in, and you would lay down on the bed and then he would play this certain sound. And the sound would kind of like have like a little vibration feel to it.
Okay.
You might feel like a little like, little vibration while you're like laying down in the bed, on a bed or table, whatever it would be. Obviously, I've never seen it can work, but that's the gist of how I figured it would be.
So I don't actually see you doing frequency work. I actually see you doing some other type of healing modality, which is going to be working through energy, not so much frequency.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but it's going to be a lifelong pursuit. And I don't feel like you'll need a machine for that. I feel like you will just naturally learn how to hook up to a particular energy field, and you will then draw that energy out of that particular field and then into the person or thing that you're healing.
Yeah.
I feel like frequency healing, because you're not able to measure what you are actually doing, I feel like that you are that's not good enough for you. You like to be able to measure things, right?
Yeah.
You want to know, I'm getting like, I need to know like how effective this is on a scale of 1 to 10. With that frequency, you're not getting that feedback until much later. You want the feedback now. That's what I'm picking up on.
That makes sense.
Okay. All right. Now, your next question, what was that? Vertical farming?
Yeah, vertical farming.
Okay. Grandma says, yes, but you need to move.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to do this here in New York.
Oh, you're in New York. There you go. I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
I see you possibly going to eventually the Midwest region. I don't know why. I don't know if that's something you were looking into, but I feel like you just don't want to be around the hustle and bustle anymore. You want to be in a place where you can feel free. And I don't think that's coming up right away, but probably within the next 5 years-ish, you're going to leave New York. Are you right in the city at the moment?
No, I'm kind of a little bit on the outskirts, so I'm lucky. I don't have to deal with all that. But I do plan to. The Midwest has a spot where I was planning to look into moving once when finances are in place.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I do see you going to the Midwest. Okay, I really do. What's your next question?
Okay. Oh yeah. Next question is.
By the way, we're still looking at your chart. I didn't know if you wanted us to look at that or if you wanted us.
That's fine. It's
Okay.
better to look at a chart instead of just my face.
Oh, you're so silly.
So the next one was could you do probes where you ask somebody, I guess you can see them like towards the future and you can ask them a question, I believe I've heard.
Yeah, I can do all kinds of probe. I can actually probe the syndicator. Now, I didn't know that you were the syndicator. Okay, I've probed the syndicator many times.
I've heard.
Oh, they told you. Okay, they gave you the results. Yeah, I've probed the syndicator. quite
Yeah.
a few times. So oftentimes when they weren't in such a long queue, people could get readings, you know, only 3 or 4 weeks out. You're putting out information, or the syndicator is, people would book a reading. They would want to, they would give me like, the syndicator says this, the syndicator says that. Is that going to be accurate? Yeah. So I knew about the syndicator before. I didn't know it was you. I'm so sorry. But
Yeah,
I've
no,
heard
that
about
no,
the
that's fine.
syndicator
And
for a
that's
while.
what it's known for. Um, I like the name because one, it gives credit to the creator. His name is actually 10. So we just put 10, and then indicators are for the TA, so just indicator, so both.
I like
I
it.
like it because it gives
Catchy.
him credit. He initially created it, and then me and Metabit kind of helped between us three. We molded into like, he created Tindicator 1.0, and now because of me and Metabit and Tim, now we're at Tindicator 3.0 because it took a lot to evolve it. So that's why I like that name.
That's awesome. And strangely enough, the three of you all get along very well, your grandma saying,
Yeah.
which is unusual in that sort of situation. Okay, so you wanted to go out into the future.
Yeah.
Okay, and what did you want to ask?
Well, it was just something simple. I wanted to know what the outlook was for Bitcoin for well, just overall market in 2025. What
You know what? I'm gonna take your Tindicator and I'm gonna move it out to 2025. So let's go December 31st, December 31st, 2025, 20. Oh, it wants to go 26. I'm like, no, hang on, we're going 25. 2025, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. How is the overall crypto market doing for 2025? It's in recovery. So 2025, is it a bullish year or a bearish year? It's a bullish year overall. 2025 is something good to look forward to. Now, do you just focus on Bitcoin?
No, I focus on the overall market, like everybody, all the other coins as well. So we
Oh,
can
okay.
individually go to each coin and find out like where we can see it.
Well, price points are difficult, and 2025 is quite far out. But I would say that overall, it's a very bullish market throughout the whole year of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
what else would you like to know?
yeah, because I don't need like the date. I just want to know if it was overall bullish because the 2025, when you add those numbers up, our indicator says it should be a good year for the market. So that's how we know. That's how we knew 22 was going to be a bad market just based off of that. Like overall, it should go down, and that's how we knew. Like, you know what? Like we're going into a bear market. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, what are you guys getting for 2023? Because overall, it's not going to be a good year.
It's not. So the thing with the indicator is our system doesn't go out that far. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, what do what does it say for XRP in 2 years? It's like, I can tell you maybe, weeks, 1 or 2 weeks in advance. Maybe we get lucky a month, but our system doesn't go out that far.
Okay.
But I
Well, that's
do
fair.
know, like I do know the market goes in 3 different phases, right? Like there's a bearish market, a recovery where we'll go up and down, and then we have the bullish one, right? So we just pretty much finished the bearish where all the dumping happened. So if anybody watching this, if you endured all of that dropping, know that we're switching from that drop, like the bearish, to a sideways market where it's gonna go up and it'll come back down, and it'll go back up and it'll come back down. That's why I call it sideways. And then within like a year and a half from now, or into maybe 2, like going into 2025, that's when you'll start seeing it only go up and only go up.
Yeah.
So I see 2023 where we'll have some ups and then we'll have some downs as well. So
yeah, that's what I'm pretty much getting for the rest of this year and 2023. I mean, yeah, okay, you may have a couple of days where crypto is doing well, but overall, don't expect any miracles.
yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting as well. And 2024, I feel starts the recovery, and then 2025, we're in like full swing
Yeah,
again.
that's
But
what
we're not going to go back into those numbers that we saw just a few years ago, where it was really, really bullish. I don't believe we're going to get back there for a while, maybe 27, 26.
Yeah, we'll go up there where we'll get maybe even 50,000 where it'll be like people, and then people will get excited again and they'll just get dropped on them again, you know. There won't be that much money flowing back in to a while, but there'll just be like, you know, pump and dump screws that'll slow. Like the market will recover back up and it'll look like it's about to take off, but then it's gonna come right back down. You know.
Yeah, people are getting excited. They are. And somebody messaged on my Patreon, they were like, Liz, you said Dogecoin was gonna be flat. And I'm like, it's only at like 11, 12 cents. Why would that be an indication that it's anything other than flat? I mean, Dogecoin had its heyday a while ago where it was seeing 60 or 70 cents. And, you know, people are looking, you know, the way I look at it is it's flat. And the reason I classify it as flat, because a lot of people bought into Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, a lot of these cryptos where they were close to their all-time high. So they've lost a lot of money. So to me, a 3 or 4 cent gain is still really flat. Unless you have millions of dollars to put on that coin and the 3 cents going up 3 cents makes a difference, it's still pretty flat. So what was your next question so that was 2025, and what else would you like to know?
Touch up on your Doge, so that way, like, you know, if in case everybody ever tells you like, oh, but you know, it went up, you know, these little pump and dumps happen, especially with like something with Elon. You know, he'll go post a picture and it'll pump, but it's not going to be like, well, it's going to continue to keep going up and make you million. This Dogecoin, it's known to dump all the way back down. You know what I mean? It's not a bullish market anymore. You know, remember there was a time where Zill pumped and it pumped a lot. So if you look at Doge, right? Look at this big old pump, right? You can see my screen. So if you look at Zill, I did the same thing here. I told my team, hey, look, we're near a top. Time to get out. Like this is going to be our top. And look what happens afterwards. Comes all the way back down. So you can give an example or use this as an example for Doge. Yeah, it pumped, but once it dumped all the way back down, the big picture is like you said, it's just gonna be flat.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
gonna come all the way back down, and it's not gonna be like, oh, Doge is like a $3, $4 right now. No, it's gonna pump because it's excitement, and as soon as those people who jumped in realize it's not going up no more, they're gonna start jumping out. And so, you know what I mean? So that's the thing. People, like you said, people need to see the bigger picture. You know, just because it went up a few cents doesn't mean like, oh, you're wrong, it pumped and stuff like that.
And I actually believe Shiba Inu is pretty much going now into just being a dead coin. I don't see any major movements on Shiba Inu. And when we start getting into like next year, and that's unfortunate. A lot of people, again, with Shiba Inu, they bought in close to the all-time high. They've lost a lot of their money. What would you suggest that they do if somebody has done that? They've lost a lot of their money. How would you suggest that they recoup their money?
So there's two things to that. For the safest route would be, hey, look, it is a popular coin amongst them. Like if you have, once you start getting into territory like Yushiba, Kishimoto, Wananoki, like all these other extra like dog coins, it's gonna be very, very difficult for them to recover. Shiba is one of like the, you know, obviously it got the best traction of all of them. This one day will reach all-time highs. So now it's just a waiting game for those people who did that. Now, I actually do have it to where it actually might have a big pump. So if we look at Shiba here, it's following my trend where it finally came back up to this area here. There's a good chance we're going to have a really nice pump on it. But once this is done, it will dump all the way back down.
Yeah, it will.
Not like a lot of it, but like a good 50, 60% will come right back down.
And you're predicting that around the first week of December?
Correct. This is going to be like the first week of December.
That's
And for
interesting,
people who
because I
don't,
got a total dump for that week.
yeah, so we will probably go sideways for a while. For example, like when we had this pump, I already saw the headline, oh, it's gonna take off. All the people on YouTube, oh, she winning 100x. It's like, no, it's just gonna go sideways for a while now. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of people who, who are gonna see this and they're like, oh, well, why should we trust your patterns? My patterns play out really well. We actually nailed Luna. This pump that Luna did, all of this, we saw that happening already. Like
Mhm.
from right here, from this area right here, we knew Luna C had a huge pump coming. It actually went higher. I thought it would go here. I thought it would end here. It went a little bit higher, but it played out perfectly. I should have got I didn't know I was gonna actually end up sharing my screen, but I should have brought screenshots where none of this was here. None of this. None of this was here. But this, like, I had the little drawing, my little drawing that I had, and it showed up. So the same thing that you're looking for Shiba is the same thing I had for Luna, and it played out. Now, the tricky thing with my patterns is the breakout point. So like right now, I wouldn't tell you to, oh, put all your money into Shiba because Alonso said it's gonna pump. You would want to always look out for the breakout parts. So you would want to wait for it to play out, let it go sideways, and then once it finally breaks above, that's where you want to get in, and then you ride it all the way up. Because that way
And
you
by
don't.
the way, guys, this is not official financial
Oh yeah,
advice from anybody here, right? This
yes,
is
yes,
just
yes. I am not
this
financial
is just
advisor.
for entertainment purposes only. We are not financial advisors.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah, definitely not qualified to be a financial advisor. This is all just stuff I learned, and I tell people all the time, hey, you know what? Use my info and other people's info. Don't just strictly go through it based off of mine. I'm just here to kind of give you a second opinion. Most people are very bullish on something, and I'll come over here and I'm like, nah. Do you ever watch Crypto University?
No, I
No.
really don't watch any of that stuff.
Okay.
No.
I try not to watch other people's stuff. People always come to me and they're like, hey, this or that. Because one of
Yeah.
the things I offer on my Discord is I can review coins individually and I can let you know when it's a good time. And someone came to me and was like, hey, you know what? People are saying ADA was going to take off because Crystal University. Guy named Steve was saying that, hey, it's a good place where it can pump. And they were like, should we get in? And I had a way lower target for ADA. And with me telling them like, hey, honestly, I would wait a little bit more because they were saying like, hey, this is right here in this spot here. They were saying like, oh, this is a good place where, this is like a super, secret coin. He put it on YouTube, it could bounce and it can have big gains. And you can see it only dumped afterwards. So
Yeah.
I can, sometimes help people, not jump in too early. And the same thing with my patterns. I always tell people, hey, don't jump in too early. You want to like stay calm, collected, wait for that breakout. We want to make sure it plays out. And then, you can jump in and take your nice profit. But sorry, I can ramble on sometimes. But going back to
No, it's okay.
people,
It's fine.
yeah, this is
But you actually believe that Shiba Inu will go back up to its all-time high.
yeah, eventually one day
I
it
don't
will.
see
In the
that.
next bull market. So like you would have to wait till like 2025. It won't be
Ah,
nothing, it won't be
right.
anytime
Okay.
soon. This pump here is gonna be like the last pump that they're gonna do. And this actually might apply to all the other coins. They might do like one last pump in the market before everybody tries to take their profits and end the year. Because there's a few coins that I have where it shows it could do a really massive and it won't be like 20x. You're talking about maybe Shiba might do if I put it close enough, it gives me an estimate, and it usually goes a little bit higher, but we'll just go based off my estimate. From the breakout, it'll give you about 250, 250% if this plays out. Because we watch the pattern and it usually follows all the way through. And at the very end, it has like a 50-50 chance of playing out. So these things are not 100% guaranteed, but what they do break out, then it gives you a good idea of like how it's going to play out. Each one of these candles here, these little lines, represents about 2 days. So it'll go up for like a week. All of the coins after this show that it's going to dump back down. So if Shiba goes up to, right now it's 4 zeros, 1290. And if it goes all the way to 4 zeros, 5851, you might want to think about taking profits. And it's going to be really difficult because you're going to hear so many excitements. Oh, Shiba Inu's taking off again to the moon. It's going to break all-time highs. And that's when it gets really, really hard to sell, is when everybody else is saying that. But all of my patterns, including Bitcoin, show that towards the end of the year, it is going to drop back down. And so were all the coins. So if some people got stuck with Shiba, this could be an opportunity where if it does that big old push like that, like how Alonso says, and it hits 5851 area, I would think about maybe, taking out some profit, letting it drop back down, and then you can buy back in, and at least you'll make more. Or, you can come back in, buy the same amount you had, but now you have a little bit of extra money in case you need to pay bills or something like that.
Yeah.
But I would not suggest
with you.
sell
I'll
your
be honest
Shiba
with you.
and walk
I
away
don't
from
see that.
What's that?
I don't see it. I don't see it going up that high.
No? Okay.
No, sorry.
Remember my patterns, they don't always play out, but when they do,
Yeah.
they have really nice pumps. And then we get a good idea of like, okay, maybe it's time to get out or so.
Oh,
Right now,
absolutely. I mean, there's a girl that we have, she's a TA person. She posts on the Discord, but the way she does it is, I guess she's expecting certain patterns, and then she'll say, well, will it hit this? Will it hit that? Will it hit this? Will it hit that? And so then I probe those numbers that she's asking about. And she says the same thing. It's all about if it follows the pattern, then you can assume where it's going to go next. Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. Yeah. And what other questions do you have? There was the vertical farming, there was the healing.
Oh yeah. The next one was when will most of my members retire?
You know what? I think one of your members asked me that question before.
Yeah. And that's what's actually coming from, because she went and she shared it with the group because she was excited about it. And they mentioned how I said, do you remember all of that? How I said, I guess you wanted to probe 2025, and I was like, no, let's go to 2027. And you asked why, and I was like, because that's when I retire.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. She had me probe you. That's right. She wanted to find out when you were going to retire. Yeah, does he retire?
Oh yeah, some of them are scared that I would retire too soon, and they're like, "No, we're not rich yet. Like, we need to know which way Bitcoin's going."
Well, they'll retire when you retire. That's for sure.
And you know what? Yeah. And that's the thing that got me really excited. I like the answer you get that came back was like, oh, like, because it sounded just like me, And when I told some friends, and they're like, "Oh, that just sounds just like you," where I said like, "Oh, you know what? Like, I don't need to do this anymore. Like, I have good enough money, and like my members are taken care of." So that's the thing I like about it, is the fact that my members are taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. I remember that now. It was a while ago, but I do remember that. It was I'm leaving because it's time to go. Everybody's okay. And now it's just, I'm moving on to something else. Probably the Midwest with your vertical farming.
I know.
All right. Yeah. So what else would you like to know?
All right. So I do have one more, I think. Oh no, I have two more questions. So, and do you know about the ISO 222 tokens?
I do, yes.
So my question on that is, will they actually, take over one day? Because right now I feel like the market is like, either there are people who are, all that, like, and they call the, Illuminati coins, the ISO tokens, because it's like the whole banksters and stuff like that. It's like a battle. It's either that's going to happen or crypto is like, all the decentralized cryptos will win.
Ooh, that's a good question. Well,
Do you see ISOs actually taking over, or will it always main everything, in a sense?
I don't see ISO taking over. What about the decentralized crypto? I feel like it's going to stay decentralized for the most part, as much as the governments will allow. What I do believe will happen is they will regulate the exchanges rather than the cryptos, because it's easier to regulate exchanges. It's not easy to regulate cryptos.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting for that one. Yeah. And what else would you like to know?
All right, and then the last one would be, will we ever teach the syndicator again? So we, believe it or not, when me, Tin, and Metabit first got together, we were like outcasts. We were going from different discords and different discords. We would go to discords, and these guys they were claiming they were psychics, and they were literally scamming people, charging $200 for like their crypto.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so like, and that's how we got together. So we actually ended up making a little Telegram group, and we were finding all these other people who were outcasts, and we would bring everybody together. So we had a really cool, good community, and we were actually teaching everybody the account. Anybody who wanted to learn Tindicator, we were teaching everybody. But then eventually, like, people just didn't really want to learn it, because it's not simple. People didn't really want to learn it because we were giving them all the information already. But over time, I think people just got so used to us doing all this work, posting all these. There was a time where I was nailing these patterns that were giving you 200% at a time. So like XRP will pump 200%. And this is where the beginning of the bear market was happening in like 2020. And we realized, like, hey, you know what? Like, we're giving everybody these cool, crazy, like, pumps and predictions. And I would predict, hey, this coin's going to go up, 2x. But nobody would care. They would be excited because, SL say, hey, red coin's going to go to like $1 and it's going to make everybody, 1,000,000,000,000%. Or this other coin or this other psychic says, hey, this coin's going to give you, 100x. So nobody cared that I'm over here, hey, 2x. So we eventually, and then Tin got a reading saying that, somebody would try to take it from him or like use it and exploit it and stuff. So then he didn't want to teach anybody. So right now, we're not teaching anybody this system because he kind of got scared by that. and I completely understand, if let's say somebody, a big whale got a hold of this, he could technically manipulate the whole market easily, just like how it is now. We think we kind of like found out their algorithm in a sense, because we can kind of predict a lot of stuff, how things are happening. So that's my question, is if we will ever teach the syndicator again, or either teach it, charge, or whether it be free or however it is.
No, I don't get that you will teach it. However, this is the information that's coming back, and you can take with it, take it how you want to.
Yeah.
If you were able to create an app that would show the syndicator's movements for the day, so it could get down to this or it could go up to that, that would be very successful. I feel like it needs to be something simple. Nobody has time to learn complicated things anymore, right? They just
want the targets.
They just want the targets. So if you were to create an app where people could look at the targets for that day, the possible targets, I feel like they would use that. Even better, if you could attach a trading bot to that syndicator, put it on an app that people can put money down, then that would be fantastic. So that's what I'm saying.
Things to that. We've actually thought about that. I even talked to a guy who actually develops bots and trading bots, and we were curious of how much information they needed to know. And it came down to they would have to know the whole system, because I have to write it down. Like they want it written down on paper so they can easily like match it over. And that's where Tin and Metabit were like, no, we don't, because they don't know this person, they don't trust this person or whoever. It would have to be like somebody who would come into our group become somebody trustworthy after a while. It won't be right away, and then have them actually build it for us, or us learn to code it itself. Because if, let's say, we did this, he created this bot for us, right? And then he goes and runs it and tests for himself and makes him a bunch of money. What's to stop him from selling it to his other friends? Hey, check out, look at the system that I did for this guy, and it can easily be spread.
It can, but then you would patent it and copyright it and do all those things.
Yeah,
Well,
there's a lot of it to it. Yeah. But
it sounds complicated, but I mean, if it works, it works.
Yeah. Well, the fact that it's math, it should technically be able to be created as a bot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really interesting. So thank you very much. Is there anything else you would like to add before you go? How do people get in touch with you? Can they email you?
I can give you the link. I actually have a website that I should have up and running now. And I can give that to you because I don't know if you want to post a video on yours or on mine. Whichever one is fine with me. And I can give you the link so that way they can click on it. It's actually tindicator.com.
Tindicator.com. Okay. Yes. That's wonderful.
I can probably pull it up, actually. Give me 1 second.
Well, I don't do any editing on my videos. It's just far too complicated. You could have, if you're willing to do editing, but oh, there we go. That's nice. Okay, yeah, great.
This is the Patreon one that I have. A lot of people, there's 2 sites that I use. I use Patreon, but I'm using the Patreon one because the Tindicator name is really big here, so you can see it. I actually prefer to use Ko-Fi. I post more updates on Ko-Fi, but this is just like an example, so that way people can see it. Because right here it's a little bit smaller, but I like to use Ko-Fi more. You would have to search for Alonso 8888. But again, I'm gonna share. I'll share the website link that I have, so that way they'll have the link for both of them. Because some people can't use Ko-Fi, and then I have Patreon as a backup. Afterwards, Ko-Fi charges less fees than Patreon, so it's a little bit better for us as content creators. They just don't have a mobile app, which kind of sucks sometimes. But
yeah, well, that's okay.
And then I'll just go. Can I go over my tiers? Is that okay?
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, it's up to you. So your tiers, yeah.
Okay, cool. So in here, I have a few different tiers. I have one where it's $10 a month, and I post. I'll bring over my. Well, I can bring out the Discord. So $10 a month, I post daily YouTube videos from Monday to Friday. So, I do these market updates. I actually give free ones out on Monday. So if you search Tindicator on YouTube, you can actually find my channel. And I only do a free update on Mondays. And believe it or not, for just one day, you can get a good amount of a good view of what the market is going to be like. But if the daily one just comes in more handy because a lot of things can happen and change. And I only charge $10 a month for that. My $30 plan is where you get the Discord access, and I have Signal. I use a Signal mobile app. So in case something big is going to happen, I've texted my group many times when I'm like, hey, hang on, the market's about to take a big drop. Hey, hang on, I see a big drop coming. So everybody gets this emergency text saying, oh, you know what? And then that way when it dumps, nobody is surprised. Unless, there's the people who are like, oh, I didn't check it today. No. But that's what I do for the $30. And this would be my Discord here, where I have all kinds of updates. I put constant updates on here. I have one specific room where it's only me posting things. So it's only me saying hey, look, we're dropping down. I post everything on here. I do have one higher plan from here. It's called my Edge, and that $30 plan, I call it Peace of Mind. And the reason I call it because you kind of see where the market's going to be going, because it's a lot better. If the market's going to drop, it feels a lot better when it's going to drop back down, but it's okay because it's going to come back up. You know what I mean? Instead of you wake up the next day and the whole market is dropped and you're stressed out. when I first started this group, a lot of my members would easily FOMO. They were all stressed out. And now I tell them all the time, like, I'm so proud of them. When the market dumps, nobody's worried. No one's stressed out. And they kind of already knew, hey, we have to drop back down. That's why I call this tier for $30 a month, peace of mind. You know what I mean? You'll learn to control those emotions because I'm always there to stop everybody from FOMOing. Now, my next tier is for $60. It's called the Edge. And the reason I call this Edge is because here you can actually request all the charts that you want. So you get an edge on your coins because there's times where this one coin pumps and somebody will come over here and be like, hey, they'll come to chart. They'll post on the request, hey, can you look at Shiba? Can you look at Rose? Can you look at, Daiso? All of these coins. And then I have, alphabetical order. And I'll let you know, like, hey, look, I have this at the top. Or, hey, this looks like it's going to dump back down. Or, hey, this can keep going. I would still stick there. I would still stay. Don't sell yet. I kind of give them my input. Obviously, not financial advisor. Have to, also look into other, information before making, the final confirmation. But, a lot of people do benefit from that. On top of that, I do offer some trade calls in there, and I offer some Zoom sessions. And a lot of people love these. I have Zoom sessions with people all the time, whether we go over the crypto portfolio, strategies for the next bull market. Even some people just, Zoom and we just chit chat about random things. I've had people vent, what I mean? Sometimes it's good to be able to vent to somebody, especially, someone that's been there. Like I've written down a bear market before and had to wait 3 years for it to come all the way back up. But these are the tiers that I offer. I do even offer trading courses for a lot of people who want to learn how to do trading. I found kind of like the easiest method for people to learn how to trade. And I go over a lot of things that a lot of other traders don't have. I've seen all these other trading courses where people are like, hey, take my trading course. They give you the information and that's it, they're done. I do follow up with people. I make sure they understand what they're doing. And I go over the most important thing, which is emotions. Like that, there's times where people want to take this course and I'll give them a rating. Well, let me ask you this. From 1 to 5, how do you rate yourself as an emotional person, Liz?
How do I rate myself as an emotional person?
Like when it comes to trading, like let's say if you have your coins, right? Like you're in Doge and you see it going up and you're happy, and then all of a sudden it crashes back down. Like how emotional would you feel from 1 to 5?
Probably like -2.
-2, that's good.
Yeah. No, I'm not in cryptos. I'm just not. So, but probably like a 2.
Okay, cool. So, and that's good though, because like the lower it is, the better trader you could become. That's one of like the key things understanding, like if you could become a good trader or not. And believe it or not, most women are probably a whole lot better, especially for the people who've taken the course. The women have done so much better than the guys. And they'll come up to me and they're like, because when I ask them this question, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm a 2. And then later on, they'll like mess up all kinds of trades and they'll come back and they're like, oh man, I'm a 5. Like,
oh yeah. You can't have emotions involved in trading. No way.
So I go over things like that because a lot of people think, they'll go on YouTube and they'll be like, hey, try out this trading system. You'll make thousands of dollars, but they don't really go over like emotions or money management. So I do offer that course as well. But that's pretty much it for me. Liz, do you have any questions for me? Any coins you want me to check out for you?
No, like I said, I'm not in crypto. That's why I do predictions. I stay emotionally out of crypto as much as possible.
You just don't do like crypto predictions and stuff.
No, I do the crypto predictions, but I don't. I own very little crypto. I just don't buy into it. I like to be of service to people, and I think that if I was heavily invested in crypto, more than like the $200 or whatever I've got in there now, I would then skew my predictions. So no, I'm really not emotionally involved in crypto at all. Okay. But no, this has been wonderful. Thank you very much. And again, I've enjoyed this. If you want to know where to find me, it's psychiclizcross.com. Well, thank you so much. This was a great experience for everyone.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be on here. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, me too. Thank you. Wonderful. Take care.